My 25/M wife, 26/F, is messaging with a male coworker and I have asked her to stop. She hasn't. My wife and I have been together for 10 years, married for 6. We have 2 children, 5/F, and 1/M. It has been a rough road due to mistakes and indiscretions on both of our parts, but we have endured and are finally in a good place in our marriage, our finances, and just stability in general. We have both had an affair each in our past, both over 3 years ago. For context, we have moved on, forgiven each other and rarely ever mention it. We don't argue about it anymore and I honestly feel that the trust between us has been restored. I trust her fully, she seems to trust me as well. My wife finished her degree in early 2020 and secured a great job. Prior to this, we have only ever had one income, mine. She loves her job and we have both enjoyed the financial stability that we have now that she is working. We recently purchased a new home, fixer-upper, and have been traveling some and generally enjoying life the best way we can in a pandemic. I feel like our marriage is the best it has ever been. My wife has a few male friends at work and that does not bother me at all. She does not hide messages and we both use each other's phones and are very open about who we talk to. I have never felt uncomfortable about the men she talks to, it has always been normal friendly conversation. Until recently. Around 1 AM one night, she was asleep and her phone buzzed a few times. I grabbed it to check and make sure it wasn't something important, normal, not snooping, and it was from a male coworker my wife had never mentioned texting. He sent her a couple messages that seemed like replies to other messages, so I went ahead and opened the whole thread. It was a long thread, they had been talking all day apparently. The highlights would be: he mentioned he thinks she is eye candy and was sad he didn't work with her that day. He stated that he had a work crush on her. She asked if his wife, he is also married with 2 children, checks his phone and he said no because they trust each other. I wasn't really surprised or angry at this point, but I did confront her about this and expressed that I was uncomfortable with her continuing to talk to him outside of work due to his feelings about her. She insisted that she understood and she would respect my wishes and stop talking to him. She has not stopped. She has continued to message him every day and the conversation, that I have seen, is really mild, maybe a little flirty, but nothing crazy. The point is, I am uncomfortable with it. And she says I can't tell her who to talk to and I should trust her more. So that's where we are, several arguments later, and I am just feeling completely disrespected and unheard at this point. Sex life is great, no complaints. No other signs of affair or sneaking around at this point. Others have answers with greater subtlety, but I don't think subtlety is warranted here. Honestly, this is flat out not okay, especially given the history and the content of the coworker's messages, and the time of night the text was sent from the coworker, and the fact that your wife essentially helped him hide the conversation from his wife and continued to egg on the conversation instead of setting appropriate boundaries to protect both herself and you. This is wrong on so many levels. I'd get into couples counseling stat. So here's the deal. You have a really calm, forgiving nature. I wasn't really surprised or angry at this point, but I did confront her. Most people would be. I'm not saying you're wrong, it's just that your emotional reaction is over on the calm end of the scale. That makes it hard for your wife to take this seriously. I'm not suggesting that you go Hulk on her. You do need to find a way to express yourself that makes it clear what you consider to be unfaithfulness. Honey, you've said that I can't tell you who to talk to. And you're right, I can't physically stop you, and I won't try. But here's what I consider unfaithfulness. When a guy tells you he has a work crush on you, and you don't shut it totally down, that's not cute. It's selling me out. When a guy tells you you're eye candy and your reaction is not only my husband gets this candy, that's being emotionally unfaithful to me. When you ask him if his wife checks his phone, that's because you know in your heart that he's being unfaithful to her. I can't force you to stop that, but I can tell you that this will destroy our marriage that we've already rebuilt out of the ashes. Whatever kind of validation you're looking for in him, let's talk about how to find it here at home. Very good point. Thank you for the advice. This was basically my end of our last argument/conversation, so hoping to see her take me seriously. I have stressed that I feel like her actions are putting what we have built back in jeopardy, and that's not what I want. Yeah, I'm not with the majority here. Once people have crossed that line/opened that door, it's way too easy to keep going. If someone told my boyfriend they found him hot and wanted to spend more time with him, I would not be okay with him continuing to have an outside of work friendship with her. That's a boundary for me. If they couldn't have the conversation with me in the room, there's a problem. Set the boundary. Sounds like you have, and given your history, I actually think the boundary should even be more clear. If it makes you uncomfortable, that should be enough for her to stop. End of discussion. This is exactly how affairs start: innocent, then mild flirty, then off to the races. Have her read up on this process. I'm sure they're aware, they've both had affairs prior to this. Biggest red flag for me was her asking him if his wife checks his phone. She wants to know how far she can take things. Not a good sign at all. I'd personally tell the guy's wife, but that doesn't really solve the problem of your wife. I hate to say it, but with infidelity in the past, you two being together since you were children and marrying young, this doesn't bode well for the future. Seems like cheating is about to become a recurring event in your marriage. You can try couples counseling, but you can't really make someone stop cheating or respect boundaries. My 24 meters girlfriend, 23F, offered me a threesome with her female best friend and a MFM threesome, and I want to break up with her because of that. I am a law student. My GF is a part-time accountant at a firm. She dropped out of the university a while ago, so we moved together to share the expenses. I have been quite frustrated with my studies recently. I study all day from 8 AM to 10 PM. I feel like law school is making me insane, and I am actually considering dropping out because I can't take this amount of stress anymore. Our sex life has been quite boring. We have sex breaks once in a while, but it's pretty vanilla missionary/doggy come in her and repeat. No kinks apart from a foot job from time to time, but honestly my sex drive has tanked lately. She is home half of the day, watches Netflix doing nothing, and she always was understanding of my psychological condition and claimed that it was enough for her. Recently while having sex she brought up her friend. She is engaged but kinda libertine, they are swingers, and wanted her to join us in a threesome. I tried to shrug it off, but she insisted. She also said she has a DP fantasy and would like also MFM threesome with the fiancé of her best friends. I said nothing, though I regret not refusing immediately because she thinks I am in favor of it. Honestly, this goes beyond any my picture of a serious relationship. I am kinda busy with school and I hate her for putting this boulder on my head. The fact she even desires a threesome or a DP disgusts me, and I know even if I refuse she will never truly give up the idea because that's how kinks work. Is it worth throwing away a 4 years relationship because of this? Honestly, since she mentioned it 3 weeks ago I have been thinking of it more and more, and it unsettles me more than it probably should. Thanks for your opinion. It is okay to have boundaries. That is yours. Make that clear to her. It may or may not be a deal breaker, but let her know monogamy is a requirement for you and take it from there. Side note, you sound depressed, my dude. I feel for you with the stress of school. Please seek professional help. I cannot tell you how well things improved for me when I started antidepressants. There are all sorts of ways to spice up your sex life. There are games and dice that will recommend different positions. Give something like that a try. Having an actual threesome, not just a fantasy, can be really hard emotionally, and would recommend it in only a stable relationship, and yours is not. Try to make her understand it. Even stable relationships can get demolished by jealousy after a threesome. The only threesomes that don't end up in broken hearts are one-night stands. My bet is that her best friend and fiancé have been working on her. They are swingers already. They are looking for something new. The fiancé has expressed interest in her and they have pushed on her slowly, hoping you will do it. This isn't just expressing a fantasy, this is where someone has already asked her for it and she is now working on you. My guess is the fiancé is pushing for it and got her interested in it. Everything else aside, it sounds like you really need to work on how you handle academic stress. You can't treat your studies like a medical condition. Am I, 27F, being too difficult about sex in my marriage, or is my husband, 30 meters? So, we've been married for nearly 2 years, together about 4.5 years. In the beginning of our relationship, we had a lot of sex. I am definitely someone that sought out validation that way, and additionally I am a people pleaser, so I would always say yes, and I wanted to be liked/loved, so I was enthusiastic even if I wasn't all that excited. In terms of enthusiasm, I've never been a huge lover of PIV overall, and I have actually experienced some pain with it, not always, but usually if it feels good I'm drinking or using something else. Now even in the beginning of this relationship, a time when we would have sex every night we were together, he would often wake me up with his boner insisting he had to come. Other times I would wake up to him already trying to sleep with me. I expressed that I did not like this and it did ease up. Fast forward to us living together about 2 years ago, and the sex was not every single night, but it was rarely ever more than one night off. Typically on these nights off, which were almost always me saying I was not interested, I would still give him head or he would come on my body in some way. Not my favorite things, but he doesn't really take no for an answer, and I'd rather just have him come than fight over it or deal with hounding. Now, a few months ago I just started to say no more frequently when I didn't want to have sex. And I was firm that it was also a no against other stuff. I started a new job that was earlier than usual, and I'm also in grad school, so my plate is fairly full. Anyway, I would say we are still having sex 2 to 3 times a week, but there have been times it's been 1x/week. Sometimes, I still do give him head, or when he really wants to have sex we have sex doggy style and I don't orgasm, which appeases him in the moment, but the next day he concludes that wasn't real sex because he wants me to be more involved, come, etc. This past week, we were both off from work and he was relentless with asking or trying to have sex. He would wake me up at all hours trying to rub himself on me and then say things like I don't love him anymore, or get angry with me for not wanting to have sex. Now granted, in the span of about 10 days we did have sex 4 times and he came on me numerous times, but he has said that isn't the kind of sex he wants because I'm not into it and orgasming myself. Honestly, this whole thing has made me kind of dread the idea of sex and turned me off, which in turn makes me even less likely to want to have sex. I really am just not as horny as maybe he thought I was, but also his constant advances and then complaining/pestering when I say no is annoying and something I don't like. He is always saying he wants things to be how they were before, but I feel like he's not taking how I feel into consideration. He just wants more sex. He insists that he is and that he wants me to enjoy sex. He makes suggestions like trying anal or using toys to make me want sex more, but I feel like he is missing the point. When I point out we do have sex a lot, he tells me I am missing the point, because he wants to have good sex. I guess I am asking advice on where to go from here. I was thinking couples counseling, but I'm not sure how that would help because I can't figure out who is wrong here or if either of us are. Too long didn't read. Husband and I have been having sex less than at the beginning of our relationship, and he basically says I don't love him anymore because of it. I think it's okay/still pretty frequent.